Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to another Spark Innovation webinar. My name is Tanya Butler. I am a fellow in the Office of the Governor and have the great opportunity and honor to work with SDE and ARP-ESSER. We're so excited that you're here today because we are just a month away from the deadline for you to submit your plan to us for your ARP-ESSER funding. And we're hoping that this will serve as a spark to innovate the way that you're using the funds in your district. Today's is extra special because I think data across the board is telling us that we need to re-engage our students and to get them back into seats in the classroom. And so we're focusing on attendance and engagement in the new normal. We have some amazing colleagues with us today. I'll let them introduce themselves. But like I said, I'm Tanya. I'm here to answer any questions. I will sit in the background, and I have my colleague Maddie with me. She'll introduce herself quickly.
Afternoon, everyone. My name is Maddie Cheka. I work over in the Commissioner's office, and I've been helping out with all things ARP-ESSER. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome. And without further ado, we hope that you use this as a lunch and learn and that you take a break to eat and take care of yourself. What a wild summer it has been and year for you all. So thank you for taking time to be with us. I'm going to drop a link in the chat as soon as I stop talking, is where you can find all of your Spark Innovation resources. So the recordings, the one-page summaries, as well as the slide decks for your reference. But I'm very excited and eager to hear from our colleagues. And so we will now go into the background. Feel free to ask questions if you have any, but let's get right to engagement and attendance.
Thank you, Tanya. My name is Kari Sullivan Custer. I'm an education consultant with the Connecticut State Department of Education, and I work on everything around attendance, engagement, and chronic absence. And I'm pleased to introduce my colleague and partner, Stephen Prophet. Go ahead, Steve.
And I'm Steve Prophet, and welcome everyone to today's session. I'm the Director for Special Education Programs at the State Education Resource Center, and CERC is one of the collaborative partners with the State Department of Education and the Bureau of Special Education to support all of the professional learning and technical assistance to support educators, students, and families. And Kari is one of my key partners in helping support her to carry out this critical work.
Wonderful. And today we're going to talk, our presentations entitled Focusing on Attendance and Engagement in the New Normal, Ways to Reimagine School to Engage All Students. Okay, an overview or sort of a call to action today around attendance. These are the sort of the categories we're going to go through our presentation very quickly. We're going to begin with the data. We're going to feature a new research document that's come out from Attendance Works in the Connecticut State Department of Education. We're going to talk about aligning strategic plans, and Steve will feature our Accelerate CT in reimagining schools to transform students' lives. We're going to jump into building systems to support all students, call to action. We're going to look at the Reducing Chronic Absence in Connecticut Schools is a wonderful resource for that activity, and then stay connected and learn together as partners. So we're going to begin with the data. The new report from Attendance Works in Connecticut State Department of Education is called Chronic Absence Patterns and Predictions During COVID-19 Insights from Connecticut. And I'm going to review some of the findings with you. We want to thank you, each of the districts, for your commitment and hard work in submitting your monthly data reports to the State Department of Education. This data is rich with findings to help the state and local districts plan for next year. G. Kapalakrishnan, our Chief Performance Officer, and his team did a lot of work with Attendance Works to develop this research brief that just came out last month, end of last month. So this is hot off the press. And the research brief analyzed data from the fall of 2020 and winter 2021 around attendance. And the findings were, I'm just going to highlight this. We don't have a lot of time today, but there's a link on the slide. And I encourage you to look at it because the findings are really important to planning for next year. But we know that the most prevalent of chronic absence was among predominantly remote students, and least prevalent among in-person students, and with rates of hybrid students falling in between. We saw a decline in attendance rates between September, November, the fall, and January, March across all three learning modes. We're not The report does not go into why this happened, but we know that it did happen, and we can spend some time looking into that. Important finding was that rates were higher for students who were receiving free or reduced price lunch, Black or Spanish English learners identified as having a disability, and male. These gaps persisted between fall and winter. And as we plan for our use of ESSER's ARP funds, we want to think about these populations of students who miss the most school and are going to have the most difficult time returning, but not only returning, but staying in school. So we want to prioritize our activities around those who are most in need. Patterns and grades most affected by absenteeism differed by learning model. We also learned in the study that 9th grade for remote learners was just a really hard attendance year. And a lot of districts are looking at ways to support both their incoming 9th graders and their incoming 10th graders, or transitioning 10th graders. Students were predicted to have a higher chance of winter chronic absence if in the fall they were chronically absent compared to peers with satisfactory attendance in the fall. So I just want to just quickly go over this and encourage you to look at this report and to consider your own data at your district. And we'll show you where you can get that in a little bit as you plan for your ESSA ARP funds. So the next section, I'm going to turn over to my partner, Steve.
So thank you, Kari. So I think that the report from Attendance Works that was specifically drafted for Connecticut with those data slides are a great starting point for, even your school faculties to understand and where the critical areas of and who these students are. So you've got some really good data there. You can turn to the next slide. So in this alignment, as back in late May, the State Department of Ed rolled out the framework for accelerating educational opportunity and access, along with its companion document for special education recovery services. So that's a great framework to start moving this work forward, to continuously improve what we are working on and what we are doing to re-engage our students, who will now all be fully in person. Next slide. So these strategic acceleration habits we've been sharing out across in our Talk Tuesdays and in our community of practice around student attendance and engagement. And these really are they mirror the continuous improvement cycle from the CSDE. So these would be the critical habits that we would want all of our teams to really begin to know, begin to implement and use as we draft our action plans to really identify the critical work that we have to do to engage our students.
It's important that at the state level, we're aligning our work around addressing chronic absence and engagement to the strategic planning that's coming out of the other offices in the department, so that there's not a gap in our work. So we're really aligning to this prioritized plan and partner, monitor and adapt. And we encourage districts and schools to align their plans for attendance with their district improvement plans and their school improvement plans as they develop their ESSER. Mm-hmm. So building systems to support all attendance. Okay, so the first call to action is to mobilize attendance teams. And by this, we don't mean it doesn't have to be a new specific team for attendance. And by any means, in Connecticut, attendance teams are not a new term. We realize this, but we also know that there's been a lot of change and transition over the last year and over the summer, and just want to remind folks that bringing together this district attendance team is important. And you may have spoken to districts who have called to ask for guidance on rebuilding a district attendance team after the pandemic, that they haven't had the opportunity to focus as much. And as I said, it doesn't have to be an attendance team. In fact, this work should be aligned with other areas of work within your district or your school. For instance, school climate and student supports, health, SEL, and academic learning. Yes, the classroom is key to good attendance, so we need to have everybody on board as far as attendance is concerned. And so the district leadership team plays an important role in ensuring the district as a whole is systematically addressing chronic absence and promoting and supporting a district-wide culture of attendance, ensuring that evidence-based attendance policies and procedures are implemented and consistently in all schools, spearheading connections with community service providers as partners in this work. This is the new normal. We cannot address chronic absence if we have in districts with high levels of chronic absence without our community service providers. There's just too much work to do to have it all fit within the schools in the district. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but this is important at the district level versus the school level so that the district can broker those relationships and each school doesn't have to do that on their own. Elevating the importance of this work by designating a cabinet level administrator to lead and facilitate the district attendance efforts. I'm seeing more and more of this in districts where someone at the cabinet level is leading the attendance. That may not be their only responsibility. They may also be overseeing other work, but they are the ones who are sort of steering the boat around attendance. So also the district attendance team just quickly brings together district level administrators. It needs to be led by an administrator and can include community agencies to address chronic absence across the entire district. So they routinely unpack, analyze, and utilize data to inform action, organize a systemic district-wide response and policy practice improvement, and promote shared accountability and continuous improvement. So just really keeping the eye on the ball with attendance on a regular basis. School attendance teams, again, are not new. Many districts and schools are required by state legislation to have a school attendance team. There's wonderful information in the attendance, the prevention and intervention guide that the department released and at Attendance Works around developing a strong school attendance team. That school attendance team ensures that the schools adopt a comprehensive, actionable, tiered approach to improving attendance that is based on data and outcomes. So there's steps here for organizing a school attendance team. Attendance Works has a wonderful school self-assessment. It's a great place to start and have every team member sort of assess where they think they are. And it will give you clues as far as what you should be considering as you develop your attendance planning. So having a regular weekly meeting, defining roles and responsibility, group norms, developing a standard agenda, and developing a tiered pyramid of student strategies and resources. So as always, include families in planning and decision making. So reach out to families to find out what might be preventing their children from coming to school. They are the experts on their children. So we want to educate as well as learn from students and families about how absences can add up and result in lost learning time, empower families to help their children attend school, and offer trainings for school staff on engaging families and building productive partnerships to prevent chronic absenteeism.
Can I just add, in your documents that you received today, there is a great toolkit that was actually established by the Attendance Works. It's called the Parent Toolkit in how to help support families to really understand and value the importance of attendance and being in school. So that's a great guidance document to help support you in this work.
And I think you're going to hear more from Judy Carson on Thursday on how to engage families in their students' attendance. Their child's learning.
So diving into the data, Kari, the State Department of Ed is really, under Ajit's guidance, has really established very relevant, clear, concise data to work from, along with the data dialogue that Kari engaged you in at the beginning of this session. You've got a lot of great data there to now start integrating that information with your data teams. Instead of doing it as silos, you've got your data teams already looking at academic data, achievement data, SEL data, and bring in your attendance data. It's all that's all right there. And we know where some of those real disparities are, and to start using that. So and then using a protocol. There's, Ajit has a great protocol online, but we also have, we shared another example of a data protocol to use where you can bring your teams together and identify your strengths, areas of need. What are some of the recommendations you need to improve your problems of practice that were really identified from your data reviews.
This slide is one of my favorite slides, and if anyone is on this call who's been at our Talk Tuesday or community practice, they are probably thinking, oh, Kari, we've seen this, but this is where to go to figure out what interventions or strategies might work for your district. There is a wonderful attendance playbook that was put forward by Attendance Works and Future Ed out of Georgetown University. It was redone for the COVID era. A lot of people start with the playbook and it's like a catalog and, oh, I think I like that one and I think I like that one. But I encourage folks to take a look at the supplementary document called Attendance Playbook Implementation Guide, because that's where you should start, and it will walk you through the steps for finding the right interventions for your district. We can spark your thinking, but we cannot tell you, there is no magic wand to say, if you do this, you're going to improve your attendance. It's a lot of hard work. So you start with a team, you analyze your data before selecting strategies, finding out what are the reasons, what are the populations of students that you want to help improve attendance, and find out the reasons for the absences. So once you have all of that rich data and you know some idea who this populations of students are who are missing too much school, are they the ninth graders, is it first grade, is it this neighborhood where there's walkers and they don't come on the rainy days. So then after you have all this rich data, they have a tool, they have several tools in this book to explore possible interventions with your team. And in those tools, you'll consider time, effort, potential impact, and cost. And so you may want to select something that may be a low effort and high impact to see if we can get some early wins. So then you will select your strategies and determine the steps. There's an action plan for implementing the strategies and assessing, and then there's a tool for assessing your success of strategy. So they give you that how to do it, and then they give you the attendance playbook that has the smart solutions for reducing chronic absenteeism. It's a valuable tool. And next, I think, Steve, did you want to cover this? Or
yeah. So even with the slide, our goal is, as we work with a lot of the attendance team leads on our Talk Tuesdays and our communities of practice, we really are hoping that we're providing strategies and supports, for all of us. We're all in this together. How do we work smarter, not harder? So the attendance playbook, the implementation guide, you have almost everything there for your teams to really start mapping out the work. But this is a great framework that you see in front is, now that we're reimagining schools and we have all students back in person, we really need to start at the foundation, that whole school-based supports. It's all around the relationships. It's all around getting our teams together, our teachers, our educators, our families, our custodians, our executive assistants, our paraprofessionals, everyone to really begin to develop those relationships with students from a whole school-based context. And then right up the ladder with our Tier 1 universal prevention strategies, our Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports.
I was going through the Attendance Works webpage one day, and I went to the pyramid, and I go to the pyramid. We've all seen the pyramid. This is nothing innovative or new, but I do know that Attendance Works has added that foundational whole school support, which I think is fantastic when you're talking about accelerating learning, that you need to have these things in place, because we don't want to just get our students back to school. We need to keep our students back in school, and that's going to take more than just a classroom setting, and we're going to have lots of supports for these families and students. So this foundational whole school supports is new. I also want to say that Attendance Works has updated many of their resources post-pandemic. They've been working very hard. So if you've used a tool in the past, like the self-assessment tools for the district attendance team and school attendance teams, have all been updated post-pandemic.
I mean, more than ever, it's going to take a village to really re-engage all of our students and our families.
So now we're going to get into some of the, these are from, this recommendation is from the playbook, attendance playbook, but it's also in our materials as a recommended, or I don't know if it's recommended, but we have, you know, programs that you might want to consider. The parent-teacher home visits model program is research-based. It's had success. It's getting a real foothold in Connecticut. We have a center here at CREC, the Family School Partnership Center, that will provide training on this. It is voluntary for educators and families, and it's arranged in advance. These are sort of what they call the non-negotiables. The home visitors are teachers, and they're trained and compensated for visits outside their school day. The teachers who do this love it. They develop a new empathy and relationship with families that they haven't had before. The focus on the first visit is relationship building, and where families and the teacher discuss their hopes and dreams, and the students there, and the student can share their environment, their family, their pets. There's no targeting. So this is tier 1. So visits are for a cross-section of all students. There's no stigma. It's not just for students who are chronically absent or had not come back to school. This is for all students. And one of the research studies, the most recent one, showed that even those students who didn't get home visits had improved attendance. So the educators conduct the visits in pairs, and after the visit, they reflect with their partner. There's been many studies on this program, and some of the findings have been that the parent-teacher home visiting interrupts the assumptions and implicit biases that educators and family members have about each other. Most study participants agree that parent-teacher home visits 5 core practices ensure that home visits result in a positive relationship between educators and families. It really connects the family to the student's learning. And schools that systematically implemented parent-teacher home visiting experience decreased rates of student chronic absenteeism and increased rates of student English language arts and math proficiency. This is a strongly encouraged, and many districts are implementing the parent-teacher home visit model. It is, there's a cost as you're considering your ESSER plan and how you're going to use your funds. The parents are the teachers receive stipends for doing the visits. Sometimes they're after school and are pretty flexible when those visits can take place and agreed upon by the parent and the teacher. I also wanted to share with you the LEAP home visits. LEAP is not a tier 1 home visiting model. LEAP is more of a tier 2, maybe even a tier 3. It's the Learner Engagement Attendance Program that was developed out of the governor's office this spring with the governor's GEAR money, the Emergency Education Relief Fund. This is being implemented in 15 districts. Many of them, most of them are alliance districts. However, if you are looking for ways to improve your relationships with families, this may be something you want to consider as a model. They're voluntary. They're scheduled opportunities for a school district member or community partner to go in pairs to the home of a student with prior chronic absence or another location to meet with a parent or guardian and the student. The visits are for students who are at this point in time over the summer missed too much school. The purpose is to strengthen the school-family relationship in a positive and relational manner. The conversation is focused on family strengths and capabilities, as well as their aspirations for the child. The visitors are there to learn from families and not to enforce attendance policies or sanctions. We want to understand what are the barriers that are keeping families from coming to school and how can we help you. This has been a horrendous year for many, many families, and the visits are multiple, so it's not just one visit. So the 15 districts are rolling this out, and it's coordinated by the RESC Alliance. So the RESC are building capacity around how to do these kind of visits, and it may be something you want to discuss with your RESC. Tier 2 strategies are intentional relationships. And there's a theme here. It's about relationship. These strategies are people, people focused, right? So National Success Mentors has been around for a long time. They conduct a needs assessment to understand how students who are chronically absent are distributed throughout the schools so that they can recruit and provide consistent and continuous school-based mentoring. They draw on multiple sources, so they may use nonprofit partners, college work study, students, school staff, trained peer mentors to amass efficient school-based mentors. A lot of times it's just internal, and they're check-in during the day, they have a session during the week, they have a relationship with parents, so the principals lead and support weekly meetings in which school-wide trend data. So this would also be, this last bullet, sort of attendance activity for one of the teams to look at the trend data for these students and see if this is having an impact. It's one thing I've also encouraged is if you are having home visitors and mentors, follow the attendance for those students and again, see if it's having an impact.
A key word here is it's intentional. I mean, think about check-in, check-out, which is a very similar kind of a program or an intervention in PBIS. Same here. It's a creative way to use some of your funding, if you have any, to identify even for stipends or connecting with your, your district YMCAs or other organizations where some of our students have some really good relationships with, to really begin to help and establish this kind of an intentional strategy to re-engage our students, to get them, that they find someone that they can meet with in the morning or check in with or connect with, to how their grades are, what their schoolwork, all of that, just to help support them.
Okay. I'm looking at our time and we have about 2 minutes, so I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit. Tier 3 is difficult, and Tier 3 is really about students who are facing more complex problems with their families, such as homelessness, pregnancy, and mental illness, and really require coordination and case management with agencies beyond the schoolyard. And this is, I highlighted the community schools in New York City. There's a link there to more information about that, but really embedding community partners into schools, especially secondary schools, who can help create those relationships and support students, because the school staff just can't do it all. It's expensive, it's very expensive. The Governor's Prevention Partnership has a model as well, that with the shortness of this presentation. Evaluate and adjust to ensure success. You have here the district team self-assessment. It evaluates 6 key ingredients around the district team and really helps you understand what you can be doing to address attendance. We give you an example here.
It's very similar to, it's kind of, the format is very similar to the, the SRBI self-assessment tool that many of our districts engaged in to really identify where their priorities are, and it was a team approach which identified the key priority areas to start creating action planning.
Right, and so the last one is opportunities to stay connected. We have a partnership at the State Department with CERC. Attendance Works in the RESC Alliance that's going to bring a lot of opportunities for professional learning in communities. Make sure you stay connected with the District Attendance League contact list through our performance office, and join our virtual communities. We have a community practice once a month on the third Thursday of each month for all district attendance leads. Talk Tuesday happens every other Tuesday for Alliance districts and Next Step schools. So there's opportunities to get together with each other and with the state and our partners to learn. And with that, I'm going to share our contact information. I'm Kari Sullivan-Custer, and my partner Steve Profit, and there's our contact information.
Incredible. Thank you both so much. Wonderful information and something for us to really dive deep into. And I really love how you talked about mobilize, dive, and build. I think that this is a time to take a tiny moment of pause and really dig into that data and work together. And I know I said this last week on one of our webinars that we really have to be all in this together. It's going to take great coordination and partnership, not only in communities, but across the state. And so I encourage you all to reach out to folks. If you see other districts are doing something that's of interest, reach out to them. Feel free to reach out to either Stephen or Kari as well. Ask questions, because I think just getting our students back into our schools is step one. And there is a good chance that you have some money to spend towards this. So think strategically and also be a little bold and innovative. I think that at the end of all of this ARP ESSER funding, people are going to look at Connecticut and say, wow, they really did reimagine schools to transform students' lives. So we thank you so much, because it wouldn't be possible without you and your time to be with us today. I'm just dropping one more time the link into the chat. This is where you're going to find this recording, as well as the one-pager summary and the deck if you want to look closer at some of those great graphics they shared with us. But we look forward to hopefully seeing you all again on Thursday as we dig into co-creating with families. How is it that we can engage with our families when we serve our students? Thank you all so much, and a huge thank you to our presenters today. We're very grateful for your time and expertise, and we will see you on Thursday for another edition of Spark Innovation.